Is this the cutest game of hide-and-seek ever?
Yes, it is.
Are Deveronians impervious to flamethrowers? And Mando is Jar Jar confirmed?
Maybe he's a Gungan.
Misa back.
Yes, it's episode 6 of The Mandalorian, and together we're going to break down the episode, uncover all those Easter eggs, and theorize what might be in store for our helmet-clad anti-hero. You're going to want to stick around till the end of the video, as I'll be going over some of the cameos you may have missed, Moff Gideon's appearance next episode, and what Zero's witnessing of the hologram might mean for the Mandalorian. So let's get into it. After the Mandalorian's adventure on Tatooine, Mando sets his sight on his next job. He's been in talks with an old acquaintance by the name of Ran. Ironic since Mando is on the run. Back in the day, Ran and Mando used to pull jobs together, and it just so happens Ran has some work for the Mandalorian. Well, really he just needs Mando for his ship, since it's both off the Imperial and New Republic grid systems, making it difficult to detect. He even refers to the ship as a ghost. Ran operates his own syndicate out of this Cloud City looking like ship, but it's interesting to note here that it was Mando who actually reached out to Ran. This is interesting since it kinda hints that the Mandalorian doesn't really have a plan for the child. As of this episode, he hasn't expressed any interest in finding out who this child really is, who wants him, or ways in which they can get the Bounty Hunters Guild off their tail. For reasons I'll hint at later on in the video, I think that's soon to change. Turns out one of Ran's associates got in trouble with some competitors and got himself caught. It'll be up to Mando and a ragtag group of 4 other mercenaries to bust him out. The only problem is that Ran never mentioned that the Razor Crest was part of the deal, the Razor Crest which hides the child. But Ran is quick to note that Mando needs him more than the other way around. Ran knows Mando's wanted by the Bounty Hunters Guild, so getting work isn't as easy as it used to be. We're then introduced to the leader of the group, Mayfeld, played by comedian Bill Burr.
You know, I'm afraid of robots.
He's a former Imperial sharpshooter who gets offended at even the slight implication he may have been a stormtrooper.
I wasn't a stormtrooper, wise ass.
Because we all know how bad stormtrooper aim is. Mayfeld will act as the triggerman, fitting since he has this cool back-mounted blaster which can fire while taking cover. Immediately there is some animosity between him and Mando. As we'll find out later, this is all a setup to trap the Mandalorian, and there are even some clues that hint at it, like when they're about to get off the ship and we see Mayfeld and xi'ann having their own private talk. Speaking of xi'ann, she's the first speaking Twi'lek we've seen on the show so far. You may remember the actress who plays her as Tonks from Harry Potter or Osha from Game of Thrones. Apparently her and Mando have some romantic history. Not sure how that works since he's never taken off his helmet. They last worked together on a mission gone wrong on Alzok 3. Alzok is an ice planet home to the Tals species, these dudes. Apparently something went wrong on the mission, with the Mandalorian saying he had to do what he needed to do in order to finish the job. As we'll later find out, this likely had something to do with leaving xi'ann's brother behind, the prisoner the episode's title is referring to. For xi'ann, the mission isn't business, it's personal. While prepping for the mission, Mayfeld remarks that Mando's ship looks like a Canto Bight slot machine. Canto Bight being the coastal city found on Cantonica, which you may remember houses several casinos featured in The Last Jedi. We're also introduced to Burg, a Deveronian. Male Deveronians are known for their protruding horns. Their species even have 2 livers, which make them more resistant to poisons and carcinogens. Oh, they also have black blood. The last team member is a droid by the name of Zero. We've seen in episode 1 and 5 Mando's distrust of droids, likely because his parents were killed by them. As Zero preps for the mission, he unlocks a distorted version of the message Mando received from Greef Karga in episode 3. This message has nothing to do with the plot of the episode and is our biggest clue as to what's to come in future episodes. As we know from the trailers, the Mandalorian and Greef meet yet again before the season is done. On IMDb, the description for next episode says, quote, "An old rival extends an invitation for the Mandalorian to make peace. Is this old rival Greef?" Mayfeld goes over the mission. They'll use the Razor Crest to gain access to a fortified transport prison ship run by the New Republic. Remember, the New Republic seems to be the main force in charge of the galaxy at the moment after the fall of the Empire. Mando was lied to. Their prisoner wasn't captured by a rival syndicate, rather the New Republic. something he doesn't want to be involved with since he's supposed to be keeping a low profile. Mando is continually lied throughout the episode, leading to his team members eventually backstabbing him. It's kind of funny that the Mandalorian says he doesn't trust droids, but it's non-droids who've been the ones who've really backstabbed him.
You know me, man. I don't trust anybody.
En route to the mission, Burk finds Mando's weapon cache, which the Mandalorian doesn't take too kindly to. They tussle, accidentally opening up the child's hiding spot. None of them seem to know who or what this creature is, Mayfeld mistaking it for a pet. At the end of the episode, the fact that the Mandalorian doesn't kill his backstabbing crew members, rather imprisons them on the ship, could mean they might make a reappearance, and the fact they know of the child's existence could help justify that. We'll keep that in the back of our minds for now. Zero performs a succession of quick maneuvers in order to couple the Razor Crest to the transport ship undetected, but I swear to God, as soon as Mayfeld dropped Baby Yoda, I was like, kill him, Mando. Mando opens the hatch and takes one last look at where the child is, showing us he cares. Through the prison hallways, we catch a glimpse of some of the prisoners, including this dude who looks like he could be a former Imperial, an Ardenian like Rio from Solo, and even a cameo from Sloth. Burk shoots a MSE-6 series repair droid. We've seen them before in the original trilogy. This alerts the security droids who, if you check out their armor, have the New Republic logo emblazoned on it. And leave it up to Mando to completely destroy these droids using a combination of all his weapons and gadgets.
I'm Batman.
Like, these other dudes don't even help him, and Baby Dropper Bill over here is like,
Make sure you clean up your mess.
I don't get no respect at all.
Zero detects an organic signature on the ship, but it's too late. We have a New Republic guard here played by Matt Lanter, who some may recognize as the voice of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars. He's holding a tracking beacon, which, if pressed, could alert the New Republic. Now, the Mandalorian doesn't want to kill him, giving us more insight into his character. But of course xi'ann is like, screw that, and offs him with one of her throwing knives. With the beacon tracker pressed, the team has only 20 minutes to acquire the prisoner and get the hell out of there. And Burk goes all Hulk on some of the security droids.
Smash.
Finally, they reach the prisoner, xi'ann's brother Quinn, who the Mandalorian apparently left behind on one of their old missions. The others trap Mando in the cell with all his gadgets. Bad move, guys, bad move. He ends up using his whipcord to latch onto a security droid, ripping off its arm and using it to escape. Mando's escape allows him to access the controls to stop the others from reaching the ship, as well as cut off communication with Zero. The rest of the episode plays out like the movie Alien, with Mando systematically hunting down the rest of the mercenaries as they all split up. The lovely brother-sister relationship between Quinn and xi'ann is a lie too, with Quinn telling Mayfeld he basically doesn't care if she makes it back on the ship or not. Eventually, Mando tracks Quinn down, where Quinn first appeals to the bounty hunter's pockets by saying he'll make sure his reward is received, and more. But when that doesn't seem to work, Quinn appeals to his sense of honor. Apparently, the Mandalorian's code dictates that once he takes on a job, he must see it through. Killing Quinn would be a violation of this code.
Aren't you a man of honor?
Back on the ship, in one of my favorite scenes of the episode, the child is discovered by Zero. And the child is no dummy. He knows that Zero is on his way to off him, so he puts up his hand to use his force power and... Actually, it's the Mandalorian. The Razor Crest takes off from the transport ship and travels at light speed back to Rand's syndicate. We see that the Mandalorian is indeed a man of honor, returning the prisoner to Rand and receiving his reward. Rand asks about the others, but Mando says,
"No questions asked. That's the policy, right?"
With the mission now over, the Mandalorian heads back to the ship, but Rand and Quinn have other plans. Rand unleashes a gunship with orders to take down Mando, and that's probably what would happen if it weren't for the New Republic tracking beacon he left on Quinn, the same one he got from Davin, that New Republic guard. This device leads a small squadron of X-Fighters right to them. Fun fact, the three pilots here are David Filoni, Deborah Chow, and Rick Famuyiwa, who have all directed episodes of The Mandalorian. Seeing the gunship, they open fire, blasting the crap out of Rand's ship, yet we never do find out if Rand and Quinn survived. Back on the Razor Crest, the Mandalorian and child are reunited with a fun callback to episode 3 when the Mandalorian gave the child the ball back to play with. We also see that Burg, Mayfeld, and xi'ann have been locked away, with Burg having a major headache from those blaster doors being smashed in on him. As I suggested earlier, I think the biggest clue to what will happen next episode is how Zero was fiddling around down with that Greef Karga hologram. Perhaps he communicated to Greef without our knowledge, or somehow activated something whereby Greef can now find Mando's location. Either way, it looks like the Mandalorian will be headed back to Navarro, the planet we saw in episodes 1 and 3, or at least a planet that looks a heck of a lot like it. I believe this is also where we'll meet Giancarlo Esposito's character Moff Gideon. If you look on IMDb under Giancarlo's name, you'll see it says he makes an appearance in Chapter 7. So my best guess is that either the Mandalorian will be tricked by Greef in order to get the child to Moff Gideon, or simply that Moff Gideon has somehow tracked the child down and gets in the way of whatever business Greef and the Mandalorian have. Either way, the introduction of Moff Gideon will likely shed some light on who exactly wants the child, why they want him, and start laying the foundation for Season 2, while also giving us some much needed answers for this season. I also think it's fair to assume, as we later see Mando chasing Moth in a ship, that Moth does acquire the child. Whether or not Mando gets him back isn't certain. We still have one episode to go after the next one, but whatever happens, I'm sure it'll be a wild ride. Also be sure to put in your calendars that the next episode comes out this Wednesday. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you'll give this video a like and subscribe. Comment below what you think of the show so far, and if you have any theories on where the show might be headed. I'd love to hear them there too. You can also follow me on Twitter at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
I have spoken.